All right, let's start getting some questions from the audience that's here. Let's go to table number 28. I think Mike, is that Mike Molloy?
Yes, thank you very much. Morning, President. My name is Mike Molloy. As said, I'm the chairperson of NAFCOC here in the Free State. Coming from being a product of informal sector, we are really concerned with the current state of xenophobic attack in the township. And we have a concern whereby we actually feel that the issue that is happening is a fight for survival. It's survivalist fighting to survive. It's not so much of race or whatever. So that is the point that I want to put across, that we should now look at that in a different light than the way we're looking at it, because now we just say they are fighting xenophobic and we leave it like that. And then we don't go and look at the root cause of the problem, because the people are saying people are taking jobs, people are taking their small parcels over, and all of those. Those are the issues that I think I'm requesting the President to be looking at. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Molloy, thank you very much indeed. And in fact, Mr. President, you're very lucky, because I'm going to give you about a minute to prepare that answer. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and as soon as we come back from the ad break, we will ask the President to address that issue of how do we deal with the xenophobic issue and its root causes. All of that coming up after the break. Stay with us.
President Zuma taking your questions this morning. Mr. President, a couple of questions from the studio here. This one from Clement. What motivates you each morning to wake up and go to the office, Mr. President? And here's another one. Who is your role model? That's one of the questions. And then another one from Carolyn Cole, who says, when will qualified people be employed to run municipalities? Carolyn Cole. And then Thomas Giani writes in and says, will you go for a second term, Mr. President? And if so, why? Those are the three questions from us here in the studio, Mr. President. Peter, back to you.
Thank you very much indeed for that question. And yes, you can see the sun is starting to come out here in Bloemfontein. And we're inside the Ilanga estate speaking to the state president. Just before the break, one important question was raised by Mr. Molloy, who's with NAFCOC in the Free State. And he was asking, when are we going to deal with the real issues behind the so-called xenophobic fears, tensions, and sometimes even attacks?
Well, I think in a sense, whilst the good brother was asking the question, I think he touched on the real issue. What is the cause of xenophobic attacks? I think it is basically because of the scarcity of resources, scarcities of work. Firstly, you know that people who come to South Africa from their own countries are looking for resources. They are coming to look for jobs. And of course, they come because they believe that South Africa as a country has better economy than many other countries in the continent, and therefore there are more opportunities. And that attracts more numbers, much as others are here because of the problems in their countries, but others are purely here to try to find opportunities. That's why you will then find this, which is a natural feeling, when the people of South Africa feel, why are these people doing certain things? Other things that people who are here are doing are things that South Africans, under general, they don't want to do, generally. But of course, in the process of that, you have a situation where the South Africans feel that, look, these people are taking our jobs because they are employed in everywhere. They are not choosy about taking jobs, etc. And because they are here to work, that creates a problem. It's not just a first thing to us. We had an opportunity to go to other countries in the continent as refugees and freedom fighters. That feeling was there in other countries. You know, for an example, some countries were supporting us, and there was poverty in those countries. Because we were getting this food, the support, they thought that we are, in fact, making use of their own resources. Right. So it's a feeling that you'll always have. The fundamental solution to that thing is to deal with the question of economic empowerment of the people, create jobs so that everybody is working. That's how you have got to tackle it. As soon as other people feel there is something wrong, these foreigners are seen selling things or whatever, then instead of saying what can be done economically to solve the problem, the poverty problem, they say, no, these are foreigners. It's an issue that always comes. It's an unfortunate issue because you can't say Africans are foreigners in Africa. They are not. We are all Africans in our own continent. I think what we are trying to do as a government, these programs that we are saying they are pro-poor and everything, they are actually directing our effort towards dealing with the poverty, with the kind of conditions that people are faced with. Only if we resolve those questions, the question of xenophobic feeling will disappear. That's what I think we should all understand. But whilst doing so, at the economic programs level, we need socially, politically, to continue to tell our people, these are our brothers and sisters. They helped us during the struggle. Otherwise, we would not have been able to fight our struggle without these very people who are here. It is now their turn because we are free. Our country has better resources. Let us share with them. Let us say these are brothers. I think we should stress on the issue of creating opportunities for all our people. Some of them are professional people who are here actually working at the professional level. They are teachers, they're everything. In others, participating in the economy of this country. I think our attitude should change. That what do we do when our brothers and sisters come here? Let us expand the possibilities so that they could accommodate everyone.
All right, okay. All right, we're going to take our final caller, and that's, I think it's Saki, who's in Johannesburg. Saki, ask your question directly to the President.
Morning. Saki is my name. I'd say good morning to the President and to the viewers. I am from Johannesburg, and I would like to lodge a question to the President this morning. We've got franchise contractors in the government as well as in the councils of the Metropolitan of South Africa. Is there a chance of scrapping the contractors on franchise and implementing work for the local people as well as the foreigners? It will have no more cause on striking. They can have a job, and there is plenty work within councils and government to supply them with work. That will be my question to the President. I will listen further on your TV. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I think... all right, I think Saki, what he's talking about, if I could hear him correctly, is he was worried about creating jobs for... Is Saki still on the line? Because there was quite a long question. Saki, could you just repeat that question? Saki? Hello, Saki? Hello, Saki, are you still there? Saki, are you still there? All right, he was talking about contract workers, if I'm not mistaken. What I'm going to ask is our producers to try and get him back on the line, and as soon as his question comes through, we'll put it through to the President. In the meantime, though, there were some tweets that came through via Vuyo, and one was, what motivates you to go to work every single day? I think you have a punishing schedule. I'd never want to be president, but somehow you managed to do it. What motivates you to go to work every day?
Well, I think I am, like many, motivated by the demand, the challenges that our people face. I think a question could have gone back, what motivated me to become a freedom fighter, to take a risk to die in the course of the struggle? I think the plight and oppression of our people motivated some of us to go to the last degree, even to lose our lives. I think it is the same motivation that motivates me today and many others, that the challenge of the inequality in this country, the gap is so big that you feel you could work 24 hours to close the gap. That's what motivates me, basically, to ensure that I contribute with whatever energy I have in the changing of the quality of lives of our people. That is the single demanding and challenging thing that when I go to sleep, I say, but what happens to those who cannot even put food on the table? That's the motivation which I think everybody should have.
All right. And then the Saki's question, as they're going to say it to me in my ear as I say it to you. But the gist of it, I believe, is that the municipalities, government departments must stop subcontracting and hire people directly instead of subcontracting to build roads. Government should employ people to build roads. So instead of subcontracting, why not hire directly? So do away with subcontractors.
I think that's the thrust of the question.
Yes. We got to it finally.
Finally, yes. Well, one of the debates that you will come across would be that the business of government is not to employ, to become like a company. Yes, it has a capacity to do so, but it cannot put itself as a company to sit, and therefore, because the complaint will be, you are depriving private sector the opportunity to work and grow. You are depriving the newcomers in the industry the empowerment of people. Why do you do the job yourself? So in a sense, there are two things that will be conflicting there. I think it is important that government is able to get people who can do the work from a private sector point of view. But of course, government does employ some other people in some degrees. I don't think if we want things to happen, we'll say government must just sit and do everything for itself and become a huge company. I don't think it works that way. But you could have a balance, of course. Subcontract, take other type of employment that you can take as government, that you cannot farm out. I agree that you can't take everything out there, even things that could be done by people who are unskilled, that companies may not necessarily take. So we've got to identify what kind of things that you can keep in government and what kind of things that you can take out there and give the innovation of the private sector to help participate but create economy. Okay. So I don't think we can say the one should not be done.
All right, so let's just quickly finish those tweets that came through. One question was, do you have a role model?
Well, I don't know in what sense.
Well, somebody...
I've had role models politically.
Yes, is there any people?
Yes, I have. Yes. I've had role models. I think
who
some of the presidents of the ANC were my role models. Chief Lutuli, Oliver Tambo, that I know,
so
Madiba. You know, those are my role models politically. There are many others, and many other presidents. I think I would only have a role model in politics. Do I have anything in politics?
well, talking about politics, one final tweet was, will you run for a second term? If so, why?
Well, well, I keep on coming across this question to me, and I've been answering it all the time. I never wanted to run for the first term. I never said, look, I want to run for the first time. Never, not at all. It is the ANC that decides in my case. It has always decided so. In the ANC system, the ANC membership is given an opportunity to say, here we are, these are our programs and policies. We want to implement them. Who do you think is a cadre to be able to lead us in this process? And the ANC takes the decision. And the reason why the ANC does so is because it wants the programs to be implemented. That's the reason. Okay. So I can't say, yes, I want to. Of course, I know that people these days can stand there and say something in that nature. That's their own business.
So what
it's
you're
not my
saying,
business.
so what you're saying is un-ANC-like to say one day I'm going to lead this organization.
So far it is absolutely an ANC. You don't do so. Because you don't decide. The ANC decides.
Okay.
You don't. And the ANC tell you, in fact, even at the process when they want to say you should, they actually come to you to say, look, we think you can do this. We would want to propose your name. Okay. And it is at that point that you answer. If you feel no, you say, comrade, sorry. I don't think I'm capable. And there are many who say, so. I don't think I'm capable of doing this. Others say, well, if the organization says so, fine. The ANC must decide, not us as individuals. That's a new culture.
Okay.
The ANC culture, the ANC decides.
All right, that's a good point to pause for thought. We'll be back after this break, and we're going to go to table number 7 to talk about government plans and initiatives with regards to leadership development. That's coming up after the break. Stay with us.
Questions at Mbuli Vuyo. Sibarna writes in and asks, how far along is government with the creation of 5 million jobs? That's the one question. How far along is government with the creation of 5 million jobs? Karo Gumete also writes in and says, Mr. President, please take note that disabled are suffering, most of them for years. Just take note that the disabled are suffering. And then there was one last one where a person was asking about the food prices and the prices of fuel, to say, when are they likely to come down? Is there a plan in the mix, Mr. President? Is there some kind of intervention, really, that you can bring to bear on this particular situation? So those are the 3 tweets at Mbuli Vuyo people are asking, Mr. President.
All right, Vuyo, thank you very much indeed. We're going to try and get to those tweets, but let's go to table, I think it's table number 7. Is that TIPA Trading Joint Venture? If you could stand up, introduce yourself. Is that Thabo? All right, say your name, Thabo, and then...
Dumela Ntate President.
Dumela Ntate.
Lebitso la ka ke Thabo Mokenela, based in the Free State. My company's name is TIPA Trading. We've got a joint venture with University of the Free State Business School. My great interest with this particular issue, Ntate President, is that we are looking and we are asking questions about the initiatives that the government is planning and addressing in the leadership, and the strategy in the provincial and local government, and being together with the business school. We, as the TIPA Trading, we want that the government, local government, and the provincial government to utilize our skills together with the Free State Business School, University of Free State Business School, so that as the ANC or the government of the ANC has started in Mangaung, we want that leadership to progress for the other next decade that is coming, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, so the gist of your question in 5 seconds is the development of leadership in the Free State. How can you help, and what initiatives are there to developing leadership in the Free State? Is that correct? Okay.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for that initiative, because I think it is an important initiative. I think without preparing our citizens to take initiative for leadership, we are not going to succeed. I think it is countries that pay attention to education and preparing and skilling their people that succeed. That initiative, therefore, is highly recommended and commended. I believe that the interaction and the connection that you already have with the provincial government is absolutely making us feel you can expand, particularly if we are linking up with the university. Let us do whatever we can. To me, that business that we are running is a business that is absolutely important to invest in, which means if we could have a collective effort to expand the scope so that there is more kind of people that benefit from it, it would be helpful. I would guess that if there was more support, even the cost of it could go down, because I think it is an important initiative that we are undertaking. I would like to encourage them to continue.
Okay, let's go to table number 26. and Dr. Kobus Loubser. Table 26, Dr. Loubser, there he is, standing right in front of me.
Good morning, President. Thank you for coming to Bloemfontein. It's cold, but we do not hibernate in the Free State. You say when you come to Bloemfontein, you cry 2 times, when you get here and when you leave. So, so the cold is needed, and you see us expand in springtime. President, in 2008, at the Grain South Africa Congress, you announced the importance of agriculture for the ANC and subsequently for government. You remember that occasion. And today we can say, yes, we can be part of that initiative. And we see in terms of the priority it gets in terms of national planning, etc. What concerns us, President, is at our eastern border with Lesotho, there's trouble. Now, last night when they stole my Hilux truck from my yard in Bloemfontein, the police told me these trucks are sold in Lesotho. Now, what is it with Lesotho? You know, we cannot farm in the eastern, we now cannot drive our cars. We pledge that through bilateral negotiations that we do not allow Lesotho to become a safe haven for criminals, you know. Because we know that our farmers cannot farm on the eastern border, and these thieves are, you know, all the sufferers are colorblind, you know. All farmers suffer, and we suffer in the Free State. But thank you for your endeavor. Thank you very much.
Well, yes, there is a problem of criminality that is along the borders, not just coming to steal trucks, etc. Even the cattle is a big problem that we are faced with. There are discussions that are ongoing, for an example, between the government departments, a number of government departments, as well as the farmers. If the farmer was standing here, he would actually make more noise than we have done, because they do face a serious problem. We are trying to combine the departments that are fighting crime to deal with that matter. And I'm sure we'll include the matter of not just the border crossing in terms of thieving, but also the one that happens right here in Bloemfontein. Because that's part of the crime that I was talking about earlier, that our police have to fight it out, whether the criminals come from Lesotho or anywhere. They must fight the crime resolutely so that we can have our citizens being able to drive their cars freely. And I'm sure that will be taken care of. And I'll certainly add that to the Minister of Police to say the problem is not just the people staying here, but actually it comes from Lesotho. That, of course, will also mean we needed to interact with the Lesotho authorities, that they on their side should step up the campaign against crime.
All right, let's go to table number 8. I think Mr. Morocco is there. Table number 8.
Thank you. Msholos, my president. In fact, I'm representing a few people, our president. I think it's very important that I must say a word of praise. At the same time, I must reflect just one concern. Unfortunately, my president, the ANC has helped us with part of the constitution it's established to enable us to have a freedom of speech. The World Bank, as far as yesterday, Mr. President, has globally reported that South Africa is the best ever reported country that you can trade with in the world. It's ranked number 23, Singapore number 1, Hong Kong number 2, and China number 3. Now, in the light of the above, Mr. President, and Mr. President, let me make you aware, by profession, unfortunately, I'm a lawyer.
Oh, I can see you're a lawyer because there's quite a bit of preamble. Can you just go straight to the question and be as very brief as possible? We're running out of time.
In the light of the above, where does it leave previously disadvantaged lawyers? What is their role why are there not so much opportunities for them to participate in such activities to enable them to be empowered? That's the question, my President. Thank you.
Okay, so how do we empower previously disempowered lawyers? No preamble, Mr. President.
But the preamble is absolutely necessary here in this case. No, just to underline that, I'm very happy that at least a lawyer who's not a government person is indicating how South Africa is viewed out there. It's being viewed very positive as a country, among many countries. I'm saying this because inside here, we seem to view ourselves very negatively all the time. I think it's an important preamble to make, that we are being told we are a country that is among countries showing that it is working very hard and it is trying to move forward. But on the issue of the lawyers, that's a matter we have discussed very recently. The trend at the moment is still that the jobs that are given to legal people, they seem to be not going to black lawyers sufficiently. And it is not helping. We've actually discussed it, and I was discussing it with the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, to say, I think we need deliberately to give lawyers equally. Of course, one of the problems is that people would go to the big names of the lawyers who had an opportunity, who were advantaged long time ago. But I think we should deliberately say, let us create big names as well from those who were disadvantaged in the past. So the point is well taken. And we are discussing in government that we should deliberately farm out sufficient work to black lawyers so that they also get experience, they also become experts, so that they participate in the process of the work that is being done. So I take the point very correctly. There are some who have made it. It is just like in the economy. Very few have come up, but the bulk of them still struggle. So we will certainly work hard. And I hope we could have even more time to talk with lawyers like him, because we must together discuss how do you do it. We must not allow it to happen by chance. There must be a deliberate way of doing it so that we can say here is a pool of lawyers, and we should say here is the kind of work that we think the lawyers should do.
Okay, well, you've got an opportunity to engage with Justice Minister Jeff Radebe on Monday around lawyers' issues. He'll be our next guest on this particular issue, so just bear that in mind. Table number 12, is it Tondile? Yes.
It's me.
Yes. Very briefly, my brother, we're running out of time.
Yes, just before I raise my question, I got an SMS that the Umongameli has got books like a student on his laps.
Oh.
Yes. Chair, I thanks, Peter. Umongameli, of course. There is something that bothers me, especially in the local government sphere, where you have national grants. And these national grants takes time to reach local government. I can make a point in example here. The grants, I'm not referring to MIG Mongameli. The grants that are water related, that are looking at water projects. Mongameli, you'd find that we have social disturbances, or you mass protests, simply because these grants take time to reach municipalities, and the revenue base of these small municipalities is low. They cannot do on their own, and that causes a problem, and it escalates into a leadership problem, as if it's a leadership problem, when it's actually these monies that these small municipalities cannot get in time so that service delivery can happen.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. So how can we speed up the process? It may be that there's a leadership problem that's causing these grants not to reach the people that they're intended.
Well, I'm happy that the good brother has raised the issue. This is a problem. I'm sure you'll recall that I have been saying we need government to do things differently. And I've said publicly what I hate in government is how the wheel slowly turns in the manner in which does government. There is bureaucracy that at times, in a sense, delays the delivery. This is what we are trying to battle with. This is what we are trying to battle with. In fact, just yesterday I was discussing the same issue with one minister that is very much involved in the infrastructure. You know, as soon as you say we need to do this, you find a lot of obstacles which are actually done to help government work properly and be organized. But you find that as we were dealing with that matter, we discovered that at one point, it took almost close to 10 years just to deal with the piece of land. So there is bureaucracy that we need to deal with. I'm happy the matter is raised publicly.
Okay.
Because when we begin to tackle these matters, it shouldn't be said we are in fact wrongly changing the way government works. I hate that there is a thing to be done, but it takes too long.
But Mr.
Instead
President,
of dealing with the matter quickly.
Aren't you
That is why in the infrastructure, we are even making a law which is going to help us to quicken that process. Because if you left things as they are, the very laws that help you to do things, they are too delaying. They become almost like obstacles. So it's a matter that is very specific on how do you deal with the grants that go to poor municipalities. So you don't have to take a decision and get it to a point where people begin protesting when in fact the resources are there. So that matter I'm going to chase myself very directly because it actually deals with the very people that we are saying we are governing on their behalf. So I'm happy that the issue has been raised.
Mr. President, isn't it though that perhaps you're just a nice guy and maybe you need to crack the whip a bit more?
No. You are almost speaking like as a president, I've got to do every other departmental work.
Right.
There are ministers, there are director generals, etc. I have had, precisely because of these matters, regular meetings with the directors general to address this very issue. In fact, we've got a new way of dealing with it. They are now reporting on a monthly basis because I'm saying we cannot stay like this. So that is the way you can crack the whip. You can't do it otherwise. Otherwise, I'll have to sack a lot of people.
All right, let's go back to Johannesburg. Vuyo, I think, has some final thoughts for us from our viewers. Vuyo?
Peter, just two questions. The one question is from Maria. Mr. President, Maria is in the Eastern Cape. She's a citrus farmer. She says that the process of recapitalization of farmers in particular is been very slow, and she's finding, being in the rural area, that she's losing a significant portion of her product, and this makes her business completely unsustainable. How can you help to accelerate the recapitalization program? And then she also says the issue about a green paper. Now, I suspect it may be a green paper on agriculture that is only available online. Being in the rural areas, she says she doesn't have access to a computer and so on. So is there a way to make this available in hard copy? And then there's a second question from Thabo. Now, this refers to the question you answered earlier, Mr. President, about the ANC deciding whether you should go for a second term or not. But then Thabo takes it further and says, should the ANC decide that they would like, the party would like you to run for president again, would you make yourself available? Would you accept the instruction, as it were, or the deployment, that's the word, the deployment, as it were, by the ANC?
Those are your two questions.
Well, I hope I heard the first one.
Yeah.
I believe that the issues that the lady who is farming has problems with are issues that are related to agriculture.
Right.
In fact, the issue of agriculture is one of our priorities. The rural development, for an example, is addressing that issue very seriously. How do you empower the emerging and small farmers who do not have the facilities that other farmers did have and they were advantaged? That's a matter we are dealing with, and we have been interacting with the small farmers to find a solution that could solve the problem. We have also been interacting with big farmers, old farmers, who are willing and very keen to help take the small farmers by their hands. I had a discussion a few days ago with the farmers from the Northwest, and they were reporting how much they are helping their neighbor emerging farmers like this one, and therefore encouragement to big farmers to help those who are neighbors so that they are successful is one way of helping the emerging ones. But of course, the government programs should, in a sense, link up with this kind of farmers. You see, the very fact that there's one sole farmer saying, look, I'm in difficulties, it means we need to go out there, because it suggests there are many like her who are in difficulties. We need to reach them. And I'm sure the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development are certainly going to take note of what has been said. With regard to the question that is persisting, that is coming back all the time, I've answered the question as Vio said.
Yeah.
I've answered the question. And I've said the ANC decides. Now, many of us, all of us, when you join the ANC, you expect the ANC to tell you what to do. And you are not expected to defy the ANC when the ANC says, here is a task. Otherwise, you would not be a disciplined cadre. So there's no question about it. If the ANC says, this is the task we are giving you, you can't say, sorry, I don't take it. You can't say so. Otherwise, you are defying the organization. Unless you have reason that, because of reason X, Y, Z, it's impossible. I can say, for an example, I don't think I qualify to do this or whatever. But it's not like if the ANC believes you can do it, and if they'd seen that you are in fact capable of doing it,
then you must do it.
How could you say, no, I can't do it now? It's not your choice.
Mr. President, I think that's a great place for us to end this particular dialogue. As always, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for giving us your time and making yourself available to the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of South Africa, President Jacob Zuma.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, and that's where we're going to wrap things up from Bloemfontein. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and also taking part in the program. And we certainly hope that the President has answered some of your questions. From us, it's goodbye, and I'll see you on Monday.